Welcome to Widow Too Soon. This is Michelle Bader Ebersole. I'm so excited. You guys know it. We've really pivoted to having guests. So we have another guest today, but this one is much different. As you guys know, like 95% probably of our guests are widowed, but I'm trying to find people that have other things that can really help us in our grief journey. And so you guys know I told you before I joined this place called Pod Match, and I've been matching with the most amazing people. I told someone it's like a dating app because it's like they match with you, and then if you agree you get matched, and you get to be on each other's podcasts and all that. So I'm sitting down today with my new friend Melinda Grace. How are you today, Melinda?
I'm awesome. It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me on your
Yes.
podcast.
Yes, and so you guys know what we're going to dive into. Well, Melinda, why don't you tell us what's your official title? I don't want to get it wrong, like what you do.
Sure. Sure. I'm officially a professional organizer, residential, so home organizing. So think
Okay.
garages, attics, kitchens, closets, anything in your house. If it's
Okay.
decluttered, I will organize it.
I love that. And where are you coming from? Where do you live?
I live in just outside of Los Angeles.
Okay.
I'm still in Los Angeles County, so but
Okay.
I'm
Well,
like, yeah.
I'm Washington, so we're, pretty
Yeah,
close
perfect.
compared to, I was telling you I did a podcast earlier in Nigeria. So we're
Yeah,
relatively
that's
close
quite far.
compared to the last one.
Yeah.
Tell us, we got so much to cover, and I really feel
Hmm.
this is going to be beneficial as we were talking earlier because a really hard thing when you're widowed is going through your spouse's stuff. And so we'll get into that and like how to kind of, move forward and not hold on to these things. But first, before we get into it, I want to know what inspired your journey to become a professional organizer.
Yes. Well, I will give you the Reader's Digest version because I could probably
Okay.
talk for 2 hours about it. But
Yeah.
but my whole life I've been organized. I'm from Texas originally, and my
Okay.
parents have a large house. They still have it, and so a large house means lots of things.
Mhm.
And so just my whole life, I was always playing Tetris with the items my parents and I had, and all the fun things I had growing up, and yeah, and so I've always done it, and I think I even applied to the Container Store a couple of times
Oh,
throughout
really?
my
I love that story.
professional journey. They didn't hire me, but
Right.
I did it, so I've always been obsessed with like the Container Store, and because I'm from Texas, so and I lived in Dallas, and that's where they started. So, anyways,
I
but
didn't know that. Okay.
yeah, so then I really got into acting and pursuing entertainment and like doing that whole world, which is how I ended up in Los Angeles. And then I had a point where I just wasn't making money. I wasn't making money
Yeah.
doing acting. I wasn't making money doing my passion. And I was at a crossroads looking for another career path. And I was trying to do digital marketing and
Okay.
advertising. And that was good. It helped, as part of my journey, but I don't know if you have that feeling where you're like, this just isn't right. This isn't my calling. This isn't what I'm supposed to do. And so, like, I'm just a big believer that we have that. And so I just stayed the course and I just kept seeking help and trying different careers. And then one day I sat down and I made a list of different jobs and that I had done or that I dreamt about doing, and organizing was on there. And I was recently married, and so I went down
Oh,
the list with him.
yeah.
And my husband was like super supportive, and he gave me honest feedback on like the different choices, and we hit that one. And he was like, I don't really know what that is. Can you really make money doing it? But it
Right.
sounds like you because you're always organizing our house. Even when I think it's done being organized, you still are organizing it, and it kind of combines all your creativity and like everything you've learned, and then your ability to communicate with people and help people. And so he said, if you can show me and we can make a plan that it makes money and that you enjoy it and that it's going to work, like let's give it a try. So I reached out to different people in my life at the time, and then I got matched up with this lady who was teaching a Facebook course on like how to start your organizing business, and
Yeah.
I took it. And this is in the middle of the pandemic, and I have another marketing job, and I needed to quit that one because he wasn't letting people work from home during the pandemic. And so I was like, okay, well, I want to work from home. And So the timing just was perfect. And I started my organizing business. I hung out my shingle on Facebook and I had clients that would let me come into their home and help them de-stress and declutter during the pandemic. And then I haven't stopped since. So I've been in business for 5 years. Yeah.
Oh, that's such a great story. I love it. I'm all about like entrepreneurs and then it's like when you can find a passion and a job that align, that's an
Yes.
amazing thing. When you're like,
Yes.
okay, I get to
Yes.
like be excited about work. I'm excited to wake up and go to work. And that's how I feel about what I do with my widow ministry right now. It's like it's exciting every day. And you know that you're making a difference, and so I'm so excited to hear what you have to share. So let's just dive into, what you've prepared to share today about, what you do and how it can help our audience be organized. Let me just tell
Hmm.
you, I am not very organized. My husband, by the way, I'm remarried, and my current husband, we've been married
Congratulations.
2.5 years. Thank you. And he wishes that I was a little more organized. So I'm gonna have to tell him
Sure,
like all
sure.
the tricks I learned today, and I'm also,
Yeah.
definitely going to read your book and we'll get into all of that stuff. But let's just dive
Hmm.
into your method and, just all the things you have to help us.
Sure. So, yeah, so my book is called Reclaim Your Space with Grace, and Grace is my middle name and also the name
Oh,
of my business. And
love
so
it.
I made an acronym with Grace for organizing method.
Okay.
And the G is gather, and the R is release, and the A is acquire, the C is cultivate, and the E is enjoy. So that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, I didn't get that quite yet.
Kind of go through and like break down the steps, and I think what your listeners need to hear will come out in the
Yeah.
steps. So the first one is, well, the first, before we dive into the steps, I just want to talk about clutter, because one
Yes,
of the
please.
questions, like for me as an organizer, when I wrote this book, and questions I get is like, why is clutter in general just so bad for us? I'm an organizer, so I know organizers speak, and we just love to say clutter is bad, right? Because we wouldn't have
Right.
a job if people didn't
Uh-huh.
have clutter. So I was like, well, is it really? So I kind of went on this journey of just looking like scientifically, is it bad
Yeah.
for us? And so there it is. And there's actually been research done, and one that I included in my book, but I'll share with you today, is one that was done by two psychologists in a study with UCLA anthropologists. And they found that clutter can negatively impact mental well-being, particularly among women. Women who have issues with clutter have the signature pattern of cortisol that is associated with people who have chronic fatigue, post-traumatic stress disorder, and a higher risk of mortality. And like when
Whoa.
I read that quote, I was like, so
That's
basically,
crazy.
like clutter can raise your cortisol levels, which is not good if we're trying to
Right.
like lead a healthy life and like balance our hormones and like be the best that we can be. That's not a good situation to be in.
Wow. That's so interesting. I mean, I knew it was bad and it's like,
Hmm.
clutter all over. It helps you like you can't focus as much as I'm speaking with my clutter outside of the camera view
Yes.
that I
Yeah.
need to clean up. But
Yes.
I totally get that. I mean, I've told that to my kids many times with their messy rooms and like you can't think
Mm-hmm.
properly. One of them, he does school from home and I'm like, you got to have it a little cleaner in here to be able to
Yeah.
think. So I get the concept of that. It's very
Yeah,
interesting.
and I can relate too. Like, yeah, I just find that when my house is cluttered and full and messy, like I can't concentrate, I can't take the next steps in my business or with God or in my walk or like whatever is going on. So it kind of hits us all like differently and at different
Yeah.
levels. But it can also be linked to wasted money because you're rebuying things that you
Yeah.
already
Love it.
own. And it can lead to, in extreme cases, it can lead to social isolation, which we all learned from COVID that that's also not good because,
Right.
you're thinking my house is so cluttered, I can't have people over, I can't do this or that with friends. And so, yeah, it's just kind of like this snowball. And that is why people come to me and ask for help, whether they realize it or not. Like
Hmm.
the clutter is impacting them in like one of those ways.
Right.
So with my clients and with myself, the first step in the process for getting rid of your clutter and getting organized is G, and that stands for gather. And
Okay.
I love that word. I just feel like it's such a gracious word and such an inviting word to gather up your things. So in my book I talk about gathering your goals. So like why do you want to get organized? What room are you going to be working on? What are your goals for that space? And then going ahead and picking up front charities or friends that you think you might want to give the items to,
Mhm.
because sometimes the process can be overwhelming. And if you already have those places like picked out from the get go, it makes it much easier once you've let an item go because you're like, cool, I let it go. I know where I'm taking it. Let's go do this. And then the third thing you're gathering, obviously, is all of your items in your space. So I find that with clients that I've worked with that have lost a loved one, and they have their stuff. The stuff is in a certain area of their home. And so in this case, your listeners may be thinking, I want to declutter something from, my widow, the person I lost, and it's probably in an area of their home.
Yep.
And so that would be the space where you're gathering all the items and you're pulling everything out. And so most of the time because I'm there and people are paying me, I do it in that space and I do it
Okay.
in a day or a couple of days. But if you're doing it on your own, you don't really have sometimes that luxury to get it all done in a day. And so definitely like pick a space in your home that can be kind of your landing spot, the area where you're just going to work through the items so that you have space to process everything at the pace that you need to process it, because I
Mhm.
know it can be hard. So that's the first step, is just like gathering everything.
Good.
And as you're gathering in organizing world, we love to use the word categorize and sort. And so as you're pulling things out, I like to group things together. So if you're pulling out all shirts, put all shirts together. If you come across a photo, make a pile of photos. If you come across memorabilia, make a pile of memorabilia, whatever you're working in. So like in a kitchen, it's spices. You just group all your spices together, and that way you can see like the totality of everything that you have and like how much of something you have, how little of something you have. Whenever I do this, I always find a duplicate of something. It doesn't matter who you are, I just always find like a duplicate, and you're like, oh well, there was wasted money. But yeah, so that's the first
So
step.
if someone was using this system to sort through, and everybody's different when they're ready. Let's say they're ready and
Hmm.
they want to sort through their spouses, their late spouses stuff. When you're saying gathering and they're sorting, are they just gathering up all the items that belonged to them? Or like, I'm just trying to figure out how we would use
Yeah,
this in
sure,
our
sure, sure,
situation.
sure. Yeah, so I would, I would, if you are brave enough and ready enough, I would do everything that belonged to
Hmm.
that person that is still in your home. And the reason I say that is because, I mean, I just think that the items carry with them the emotion and the
Yes.
emotional experience.
Yep.
And so when you're ready, and I find with my clients when they're ready to declutter things from a loss, it's because they're ready to move forward
Yes.
in the next step of their life and their next thing that God has called them to.
Hmm.
And if there is stuff all over your house of something from your past that's holding you back, it holds you back
Yeah.
from the next step. And so even if it's hard, like call a friend, have them come over,
Yeah.
help you pull everything out and put it in the area where you're gonna start sorting and categorizing.
Yeah.
And that way too, it becomes easier because then if you decide, oh, I want to organize my closet, yeah, and then you still are finding something and it's hard to deal with, you have to revisit all of that. And in this case, if you've decided to go through all of your loved ones' things in one foul swoop, then when you go to organize again, you're not going to hit this unintended roadblock, which actually did happen for one of my clients. We were working on their garage, and all of a sudden she hit this box of memories of her um, lost husband, deceased husband, and we had to stop. It
Yep.
halted
It's
the
hard.
momentum, and she had to deal with it. I brought her flowers the next day, and we
Oh,
set that box aside, and we didn't deal with it because that wasn't the goal of the project. But if you can deal with it now and in this space, I think in the future with decluttering, it will make the rest of your space much easier.
yeah. And I found I did it. And like the first thing I did was maybe at first I wouldn't let anyone touch anything, like
Yes.
his water cup, his glass. Like I'm like, my kids were not allowed to touch anything for 2 months. And then one day I woke up and I'm like, I'm ready. And the first thing
Yeah.
I did was those items, and then I went through his clothes. But I
Yeah.
started, and it's been 5 years, and I've moved houses, and a lot of them are still with me. But
Yeah.
it was like the ones for me, it was sorting through, and the ones that he hadn't worn in like a decade and didn't really
Yeah.
mean anything, it was easy to put those in a giveaway pile. Or I started with first let my kids, go through it, and then his mom. And
Mhm.
then it was like, then it's giveaway. But then there were the things that were like super special that he wore all the time that I really
Yeah.
like held on to, and I still have. And now my boys are older and they can fit into them, and it's really
Yes.
special. And one
Oh,
of the
that's so
things,
cool.
yes, I love it when they
Yeah.
wear their dad's shirt. One of the things that someone had pointed out is like, you don't want to, on one of our podcasts, we talked about this. You don't want to give everything away. Like, even if you're ready, like first day, you think it,
Mhm.
just if you need to get it out of your sight, just put it somewhere. You can even give it to a friend, but do not get rid of everything because you will regret it. I've talked to people who've
Mm.
regretted
Mhm.
it if it's like
Mhm.
brand new. And so that you could sort it, but you would want to hold on to it until maybe like a year or so to see if you
Yeah.
really want to, because you can never get those things back. But
Yeah.
what I've had to realize is they're just things, like, but it's hard. Like, so I'm remarried, but I still have some things. The garage, that's always a hard one for widows because there's
Yes.
like
Yes.
so much in
Yes.
there. And now my current husband uses it, so it's fine. But okay, here's the one that I have not gotten rid of, and mine's a totally special circumstance. So Luke was an amputee, so I have four of his prosthetic legs. And I
Oh my
just,
goodness.
even Joel
Wow.
asked me, like, are you going to donate those? I'm like, eventually. And what
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to do is find, this was actually like Luke's dream. Like, we wanted to go on mission trips and give prosthetics to those who could not afford them. And so what I really want to do with them is I want
Yeah.
to find like missionaries or like organizations that would take his prosthetic legs and then format them for people to use. And so that's why I've still held on to those, because I don't want to just like donate them to anywhere.
Yes.
And so I think there are those
Yes.
special items that you're like, I really like in his legacy, like I want to do this. And there's
Yes.
still things like when I find anything with his handwriting on it, like it is the most precious thing, even if it's just like one word. And I have
Yes.
like, we had a whole file cabinet, and I still have all those files, haven't gone through them. There's still 5 years down the road, certain things that are really hard, or like we just have a hard time releasing. Sorry, I got way off your topic here, but I'm
Oh
just,
no, it's fine.
talking from my personal experience of what I did was like 2 months. I started sorting through and started, but I didn't get rid of anything except for things that were like really old and then nobody wanted, even his mom didn't want, then they went to Goodwill. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's been a process over 5 years. And so when I moved 3 years ago, oh, almost four, that forced me to go through the whole house.
Mhm.
And that
Yes.
was hard. I
That'll do
mean,
it.
in the beginning, like there were things like I remember he had this like electric razor and this, and I found like his hairs, and it was so hard, or his
Wow.
toothbrush, or his,
Wow. Yeah.
like those things, as weird as it sounds, like I held on to for months because it's like that
Yes.
last little piece of them. And so it's really hard to let go of them. And I, like I said, I
Mhm.
still have certain things that are difficult to let go of, but I think that it's just realizing there that is not the person, and it holds a memory, but it's not the person. So anyways, I'll let you get back to
No,
your
it's
letters.
fine. No, no, that's so great. I'm glad you shared all that. I think it's really relatable to your audience and even to people who have lost just a loved one in general. And I find with my clients that they come to me 3 to 7 years after they've
Wow.
lost someone. And, so I hope that encourages your listeners too, that it just takes time. Like the
Yeah.
grieving process is what it is, right? Like you have to walk through it the way you have to walk through
Yes.
it. And if it's 5 years later and you're just now gonna get to their stuff, it's
That's
great.
okay.
That's great.
Yep.
It's okay. And also, I know it sounds like silly, but I think like in your case with the special amputee
Mhm.
prosthetics that no, I just always pray over my things if I'm struggling with where to
Mm,
part with something.
that's good.
I'm always like, Lord, I mean, you blessed me with this thing, but now I don't need it. Is there someone else who needs it? And like, how do I
That's
find
good.
them? How do I get that to them? And I always find just by like praying and putting that out there that somehow the person comes into my life or the
Mhm.
organization or like it
That's a
just
great
ends up
suggestion.
making sense.
Mhm.
An example is when I was little, I played the violin. And obviously I don't play it anymore. It's this tiny
Mhm.
little violin. Like, what am I gonna do with it? Like, even if I have kids, they're probably not gonna play the violin. So like I don't know what to do with this
Yeah.
expensive piece of classical instrument. And at the time, like in my life, there was this woman and she had started a nonprofit in a foreign country, like a third world country, where they were trying to teach them classical music. And so I shipped that violin off to this nonprofit and I think it was Haiti or something. And
That's
so
amazing.
another kid could like learn how to play. So,
I love it. No, that's a great idea. I've never actually like prayed about where I should send the prosthetic leg. So I'm gonna start doing that. Thank you for that tip. And I'm sure our listeners have things they could do
hmm
that with too. I love it. Thank you.
hmm yeah. And so the next step kind of goes perfectly. It's the R. And so it's release. And
Mm,
the main thing, obviously, we probably want to talk about today is just like releasing those items. And
yes.
in this situation, it's like extra hard, you know? It's not the normal situation.
Right.
And so I think it's really hard because, and you kind of alluded to it, there's just so many memories attached.
Yes.
And memories, like you said, you can't get back. Memories that you really want to remember and hold on to. And if you let that go, I think people are afraid they're going to lose the memory and they're going to re-lose the person in doing
Right.
that. And I think the first step is just recognizing that instead
Yes.
of being like, why is this so hard? I can't do it.
Yeah.
And just stopping and being like, okay, this is hard because this is a memory of this amazing person that God
Right.
brought into my life and then took away for whatever reason. And it's hard. And just know that, like, you have pictures of that person. They will always be with you. They'll always be with you. You're not going to lose the memory. And if you're really, really, really worried about the memory, one of the things I wanted to share, and I'm not an affiliate, so like I'm not getting any money from
Yeah.
this recommendation, is there's a website called artifact.com and it's artifcts.com. And it's an app on your phone where you can take a picture of the item. Doesn't matter what it is, you can take a picture of it. And then it allows you space to write the story of
I
that
love it.
item and the memory and then store it in a safe place digitally. And so I find, some of my clients, they'll just take the picture. They don't need something fancy like an app. They like, they know. But if somebody does, I think that's a great way.
It is great.
But a lot of my clients will take a picture and they'll have it on their phone or they make a file and like that helps them because
Yes.
then you still have that picture of the item, but then you can let it go to its next home and like
A
bless
great
somebody
idea.
else.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great idea.
So I wanted to share that.
Yes.
Yes, releasing, and then also I find, and you even mentioned this too, I also find it's easier to release items when you know where they're going. So
Yes.
like for you, when you find that nonprofit, I have a
Mhm.
feeling the burden will be a little lighter to let it
Mhm.
go, knowing that it's going to the place to help somebody else. So
Yes.
I find that is true with my clients as well. Like I had a client whose mom passed away, and so 5 years later, we were going through her stuff, and she had some really like cool, kitschy, like antique vintage items, and she was like, I really just don't want them to go to Goodwill. Like I don't know
Right.
why, but like I just don't want that. And so I found a place here in LA where they sell like random kitschy things. And they
Nice.
bought most of the things I brought in, and like that made her
Nice.
feel better. Like, that helped her release. So I would say, for those items like that, it's okay to take the time to like research. In this day and age, we have the internet, so you can find
Yes.
anything.
Mhm.
And then another one of my tips which most people have heard of by now, but is just joining your local Buy Nothing group.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
I
so
know what that is, yeah.
yeah, I use that myself, and if you don't like your group, have your friend do it in in their group, because I know all the groups have a different like vibe and energy. But I also find that that's been really helpful for me and my clients to let go of things, because it's going to a person, it's going to be reused, and they need it because they said they needed it. So and then the other thing for releasing that helps clients is just making a memento box or giving
Mm,
yourself space in your house. And
yeah.
if it's really important to you, I would say try to get it out of your garage, because garages are cobwebby. They're not insulated. If it's like really, really important to you, like you had mentioned, just anything that he wrote,
Yeah.
I would try to gather it together and put it in a box, maybe on the top shelf of your closet or in your office or something, and just it's because you've gone through the stuff and you're releasing things, the things that you keep. I love the word, it's curated for you then. It's
Mm,
like a special box of curated memories that mean the most to you. So when you need to feel him or you're struggling, you can just pull that box down that you've curated with the best of the best
yes.
and go through it and just process grief and the time that you had with that.
That's yeah, great. Great
I wanted
advice.
to see if I hadn't. Okay. So another thing I wanted to just share was a quote from my book about like why letting go is so hard.
Mm,
And it's from a psychologist on just a general I think like psychology, just a general psychology
yeah.
website. But she says, at its deepest level, the prospect of letting go forces us up against our three strongest emotional drivers: love, fear, and rage.
Mm,
And I'm sure as you process grief, you're going through all of those
yes.
emotions, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, so I would just give yourself a lot of grace as you go through this. Like you said, it takes the time that it takes to release, and if there's something you're not ready to, like you did, you can just you've sorted it already, and so you can make a box of things that you're like, I don't know what to do with this, but I know
Yeah.
now is not the time. Now is
Yeah,
not the
that's great.
time to figure this out, and you can just make a box of those items that you're just not ready to deal with yet,
Mhm.
and that's okay.
Mhm.
That would be my biggest thing. That's
Yeah,
okay.
and I would say just another thing when you're sorting through when you have kids, I think
Mm,
definitely holding on to things. So, for example, Luke had a bunch of Bibles, and I've
yeah.
been able to give them to the kids, at certain milestones. Been able to give the Bibles. I've also given the boys pocket knives. I can't remember all the things, but just things that like would be special, to them.
Mhm.
And so I think holding, even if your kids are little, like my boys could not fit into their dad's clothes when he died, but now they can. And it's like my youngest is 17. He was 12 when his dad died. And now seeing him in like a man's body wearing his dad's clothes is so
Wow.
special. And so I think definitely like having a place where you can put things to hold on to for your kids until they can make a decision. And if they don't want it when
Mhm.
they're older, then that's okay. You can release it. Another thing that I've been wanting to do, and a lot of widows I know have done, is create a
Yeah.
quilt with all the
Cool.
shirts.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think
That's
that's
awesome.
such an amazing. I think we don't have enough anymore because now my boys are wearing them, which is great. And my daughter actually, since she was like 2, her dad would give her his shirt and say, "And it's your daddy's shirt," and she would wear it to bed. And she's 19 now, and she still
Wow.
does. So she wears his shirts
Yes.
also, but just like to bed as a
Oh, that's
night shirt.
beautiful.
And so I think
Yeah.
that's really important when you have kids, like for listeners that you might have little kids right now, but hold on to
Mhm.
some stuff for them because I feel like they might be upset when they're older if they don't have anything that was their dad's, or
Yeah.
we have widowers also, or their moms, and making sure that there's something special. Here's something I heard. Oh, let me see if I can remember. I think it was George Clover, one of my guests. His first wife, I could be wrong about the person, but I think it was him, loved jewelry. And there was like so
Mhm.
much costume jewelry. He didn't know what to do. So at her celebration of life, he put it out on a table
Oh,
and said,
wow.
please take, a piece of her jewelry. I was like, that's an amazing thing to, I think he
Wow,
let
that
his
just gave
daughter go
me
through it
goosebumps.
first. Yeah. But then
Yeah.
he took it and he gave it. And then I think it's the same story where he like took jewelry or accessories or something and all over the world and would leave them at different benches, different places that she would have loved.
Wow.
I was like, that's
Oh
a
my
cool thing to
gosh.
do with stuff too. So you
Yeah.
can get creative, if you're like, I
Mhm.
don't want to let
Mhm.
go yet, but like, what can I do with this? And it might come to you later. Like, okay, this is what
Exactly.
I could do with this. And it's like there's just so many, special things that we can do. And I
Mhm.
love, like, yes, I've gone through most everything, but I still have like boxes in my closet, like notes from Luke and cards from Luke and just all the things. I still love it when I come across things, and it's so special.
Mhm.
And I'm glad I didn't ever just like throw everything away, and just like, yes, there were some things like I remember I had like some gigantic Valentine's Day card that I had given him. I'm like, I just really can't save this anymore. So when I was moving, I think I took pictures of it,
Yeah.
just like you were
Yeah,
saying.
exactly.
So I have
Exactly.
all
Take
of the
pictures.
words and, but I think it's just hold on to things if you are feeling like I might want to give this to my kids or,
Mhm.
do something with it. So anyways, off the
Yes.
topic again.
No,
Just I can
no,
just
it's
speak from
perfect.
my experience of what's, worked for me, and then having like special things for the kids has been huge.
Mhm.
Oh, this was so sad. So my son's first time on a plane without me, like a little while ago. So he was 17. The kids called me. He was with his sister, and they ended up telling me that when he was going through security, he had his dad's pocket knife in his backpack and
No.
didn't know he had it from hiking, and they threw it away and then they were like, well, could you call someone? They didn't call me. I'm like, I would have turned around and I would have gone and picked up the knife.
Yeah.
So they lost
Yes.
it. But thankfully, I was able to tell him I have another one for you. So it's
Yes.
okay. But it's like those
Yes.
things are like irreplaceable. And
Mm.
just another side note that I think is so beautiful. Before Luke died, he picked out gifts for the kids for all their next birthdays. um he died like right after Haley's birthday, so he picked out a locket that "You Are My Sunshine" and gave it to her, so he was able to give her a gift. And then Hayden's 16th birthday was about a month and a half later, and he wanted to give him a gold chain that he had worn when he was a teenager, and it's 5 years later and Hayden still wears it like every day. And then
Wow.
for Peyton, who his birthday was a while later, like 10 months later or something, he picked out like these trophies, like baseball trophies that were his. And I just thought that was
Mhm.
really special that he like picked out,
Yeah.
this is what he picked out. And we're also seriously blessed because while Luke was dying, a lot of my widow friends, they didn't have any warning. He had cancer. We knew he
Mhm.
was dying. I bought this book called My Father's Story, and I would just ask him questions about his memories and like all these different things. And the very last question before he died was, what advice do you have for your kids on their graduation day? And I actually voice
Gosh.
recorded it. And two of my kids have graduated, and I just sent it to them on their graduation day. And my youngest is about to graduate. We were just
Oh my
talking about it the
gosh.
other day. He's like, that's going to
Whoa.
be kind of sad. I'm like, yes, but also a gift because he
Yes,
gave you
right?
advice. So just a
Yes.
little side note. And I know I'm sorry in my audience, a lot of you didn't have that, but I'm just thankful for the gift that we have that. And it just kind of goes like along with like an irreplaceable memory. Like all of these voice messages on my phone, I have like emailed them to myself like 3 times, saved them in all these places, because it's like you can never get another picture, you can never get another voice message. And so
Mhm.
like everything is so precious. Like I have a lot of widow friends who won't turn off their husband's phones like years
Oh,
later
wow.
because they want to still be able to
Wow.
text or they want to whatever. And I turned off Luke's pretty quickly, but I used to Facebook message him all the time. And my kids did too. I've read their messages when he had first
Oh,
died.
that's so sweet.
Anyways,
Wow.
so I understand
Wow.
memories are like a really important thing. But I love that you're
Yeah.
teaching us how to deal with these. And I think is interesting, like we didn't even talk about this before we started. Like you've had a lot of clients who have had a loved one pass on. And so you
Mhm.
have so much experience in this. And so I think it is great that you can share from your real life experience of working with people.
Yeah. And I wanna yeah, the only thing I wanna add to that is that you did the hard work of decluttering the things that didn't matter as much anymore, and
Yeah.
then you left and kept the items that you knew were going to mean something.
Yeah.
So when you pass them along to your kids, you weren't passing along this mountain
Yeah.
of things. You were passing along specific curated memories for
Mhm.
them, and I'm sure they really appreciate that. As
Yeah.
they may not have voiced that, but
Yeah,
you
they
know,
do.
and I think that is an important piece to the work too. That the specific things you're passing along to them are even that much more meaningful because they're not passed along with random stuff. They're,
Right.
you know, they're like chosen
That's a good point.
items just for them. And that's part of the work too. So
Yeah, that's right.
yeah. Well, the next letter is A, which won't take very long. It's acquire. It's just
Mm,
acquiring the right bins that you need. Like if
okay.
you want to get a beautiful memento box or have something made on Etsy or just
Yeah.
whatever it is, that stuff is just acquire. You're just gonna
Mhm.
acquire. And it's also can, on a more general note, if you're just redoing your closet or something, it's acquiring the help you need to get it done. So if you want to
Yeah.
add in a new system, new shelving, if you want to
Right.
paint, if if you want to do all that stuff, it's just acquiring all those tools so that when you put it back in place, you have everything that you need. So that stuff's pretty easy.
Yeah.
And then the next step is cultivate, which I love that word of cultivating because
Mhm.
it's related to, gardening and tending a garden, and sometimes it just takes time, and it's
Yes.
sometimes not something that happens overnight. Like we watch
Yeah.
the organizing TV shows and it happens in an hour, and in real life, I think cultivating your new way of living and being organized and your new way of moving in a space with the items you've kept can just take a minute.
Mhm.
I My example in my book is to like a dance. Like, if you've reorganized your kitchen and you've moved the glasses so they're closer to the refrigerator or whatever, it takes a minute to like learn that new routine, that new dance that you have in that space. And I would even say, like, if you are going through and you've done the hard work and, now you've kept the memories and you've chosen to put them here and you've kept the memories for your kids and you've chosen to put them there. The cultivate would be just taking the time to pause and be like, does that make sense with my
Yeah.
routine? When I want to go remember him, does it make sense that I go to my closet? Well, maybe it doesn't. Maybe for you, you go to your office, or maybe for you, I don't know, whatever it is for you. Maybe it's in your living room. I don't know. It's just,
Yeah.
where are you going to go and what is the rhythm with how you want to interact with the things that you've chosen to keep. So I call that cultivate. And
That's good.
yeah, yeah. So that one's kind of carries more weight if you're just in general organizing your
Yeah.
house, because you
Yeah.
are getting rid of clutter, but it can still be meaningful, very meaningful in this situation too, because you want to put your items in a place where you know where they are and where
Mhm.
you know where your brain and the way you live and move in your space will know where to go find them when you need to.
Yeah.
So it's like
That's
very
good.
intentional.
Yes.
And then the E is enjoy.
Mm.
So even in this in the world of grief, I think there can still be a moment of enjoying and like kind of patting yourself on the back, like I just did this really hard thing. I let go of things. I prepared things for my kids. I found a special organization for this. Like that's a lot of work,
It is.
like that's why people hire me because it is
Yeah.
a lot. And so the E is just like enjoy the work that you did it, that God gave you the wisdom and the stamina to like get through those items and thank him that he helped you get through all of that stuff or and I think in our fast-paced world we're just like I did the thing, I did the
Yeah.
goal, marked it off the list, it's
Yeah.
done. And I just the whole point in me writing this book is that I believe that organizing can be such a deeper, more spiritual experience. And I kind of just tack on the end of the method, like, hey, stop, journal, pray, have a cup of tea in that space. Maybe you just made your beautiful memento box and you love coffee. So grab some coffee, sit down in your favorite chair, enjoy the memories that you just curated for you. And
Mm.
so yeah, anyway, so I also love that too, because I don't want to gloss over the fact that like that you worked hard, that God was there with you, your friends were there with you if you called a friend. Yeah, so that's kind of the last thing.
That's beautiful.
And then in just saying that, I remembered like something else I wanted to say that in this particular case, we've mentioned that releasing things can be hard and a
Yeah.
little more emotional than the average organizing job. So I would say like definitely reach out to a friend, reach out to somebody else in your life to help you. But if that's not enough, I definitely think that therapy is good to reach
Mhm.
out to a therapist or a life coach. You know, I haven't lost a husband, but in my fertility journey, I have
Mm.
lost. And
Yes.
so I
That's
did
hard.
go to therapy, but
Yeah.
I found there was a moment where therapy was not helpful anymore because it's constantly looking at the past. And I'm like, I know why I'm feeling this way. It's because I experienced a loss. And so finding a coach or a relationship coach or life coach, or I think there's probably even like Christian spiritual coaches
Mhm.
these days. They kind of just help you get more present with where you
Mhm.
are now and like help you move forward. So, so I would say like find one of those situations because, we do need to deal with the past, but if you hit a wall and you're like, I'm kind of like, I know I'm good. I now I need to like move forward, definitely find a coach. They've been so instrumental with me and like processing grief and moving
Mhm.
forward. So, and it's crazy how an item can like bring that up, but
Oh,
it
yeah.
does. It
Yes.
does.
Grief comes in waves, and it can be a
Mhm.
song, a smell, an item, anything, can hit you. And so I think it is also, good to kind of give yourself a whole day if you're working on this. Like, don't need to be anywhere else, don't have to do all these things because it's going to be really emotionally hard and draining. And you might feel like you just ran a marathon because you're going through all of these emotions. And then I wanted to share something else that I did. So I feel like kind of as your grief changes and you get further out, you might deal with things differently. So as in the last couple years, as I've come across more things, for instance, Luke's baby book, I in the beginning like was like, oh, I want this. And then I'm like, you know what? I think his mom would appreciate this more than
Mhm.
me right now because that's her baby. She made this book and I was able to give that back to her. I had a lot
Wow,
of
that's
stuff that
beautiful.
she had given to him from when he was a kid, like schoolwork and all of this. And I'm like, you know what? This means more to a mom than a wife. And so
Yeah.
was but in the beginning, I didn't want to part with anything he ever touched,
Yes, of course.
but then
Yeah.
it becomes this thing of like, okay, who would appreciate this more? And then you
Mhm.
can kind of, think about, to my kids, their dad's baby book. I mean, that's cool. They've seen it, but it doesn't mean as much as the mom who made the baby
Yeah.
book, and so I think
Yeah,
things
exactly.
change as you, move forward in your grief and you're in a different place that you might be able to let go more. Well, I know you can. Then in the very beginning, like I said, I wouldn't let anybody touch anything. I mean, it was a good couple weeks that, I had his medicine he was supposed to take the next morning. I had his glasses, his cup.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Nobody could touch anything because I just was like, "That's the last thing he touched," and just was in this
Yeah.
place that I couldn't do it. But I feel
Yeah.
like, God gives you the strength as he heals your heart to be able to deal with more, you know, um,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then just kind of like more in the general, like organizing space, not just dealing with our loved one stuff. It's like we just need to remember, like, this world is not our home. Like, we don't need all these things. Like, for those of us that are Christians, like, we can have a totally different perspective too. Like, we come into
Mhm.
the world with nothing, we're going to leave the world with
Yeah.
nothing. And so, hanging on to all these things is not, if it's weighing us down, it's really not a good thing, and so remembering that as we're
Yeah.
going through all the things, they're like, "Do I really need this?" And I remember when it was, Marie Kondo, what's her name?
Yeah.
The Spark Joy
Marie
lady?
Kondo. Yes.
Kondo, whatever her name was. I remember watching her show about, "Does this spark joy?" I still do
Yes.
that sometimes, like, "Not really, I don't need it." The other show
Yes.
and book that I really got into was Home Edit,
Yes,
and
I love
I
them. Oh
started
my gosh. They're
organizing in
amazing.
colors. Yes.
Yes.
I started doing the rainbow thing. I remember so much that Luke was like, "Why do you have all these?" Like, I organized every app on my phone in color coordinated because they said
Yes,
to do it.
yes, yes,
I
yes,
was like,
yes, yes.
"What?"
I love their stuff.
Like, you put apps that are
Yes.
green in the green folder. I'm like, I still like that. I mean, there's a lot are not anymore, but, like, I kinda got into that and, like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
you know,
Oh, that's awesome. No, I love them. Like I mean, I'm forever grateful to them because everybody watched them during the pandemic, which is
right?
when I
And they
started my
weren't
business.
organized. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Like,
Yeah.
okay, so let's talk about a few more things now that you've shared your awesome system. Like, what advice, so not just talking to widows specific, but like,
Hmm.
what advice do you give to someone who's like overwhelmed by their
Mm.
space? Like, where do they, like, let's say They, you don't live near them, they can't hire you, they don't know someone, they gotta start themselves. Where do you
Mhm.
like, if you got a whole house that needs organized, where do you suggest starting?
Yes. So my favorite quote that I've learned from my acting days, because I wrote a solo show when I was an actress, and
Nice.
like kind of the same thing in a way, like, oh my God, I have this whole life. Like, where do I start? And the biggest thing I learned from my writing coach then was start where you're stuck.
Mm,
So that's kind of like
I like
a
that.
thing I live by sometimes. It's like, okay, well, where am I stuck? That on a logistical note, that's kind of like higher level. But on a logistical note, a lot of times I start where people are like the most stressed. So
Okay.
like, is there a room in your house where you're like, oh my God, this is just so stressful. I can't take like, is there an area just when you think about it, when you close your eyes and you think about your house and you're just like, oh my God, the kitchen or my closet or the paper piling up in my office. A
Mhm.
lot of times I like to start there. And then when you're doing it, don't think about the rest of your house. Like just focus on that one thing and like that's where you're stuck. And um, a lot of times, I would say from my experience, the two rooms that I do get called in the most to do are your primary closet and then kitchens. Because your closet is where you start and end your day. You start by getting dressed and then you end the day by taking your clothes off. And so I find that people gain a lot of healing and momentum from starting with their closets. And then
Mhm.
the kitchen, in my opinion, is the heart of the home. It's, where you eat all your meals, where when family comes over, you're hanging out. And so I find if that is in disarray, a lot of my clients are coming to me like, "Oh my God, I just can't even like make a meal and like I can't function." And then I find if we get that done and everything's in place, like their whole demeanor changes and their whole home kind of changes. And that's what I would say is like just start where you're stuck. And the beautiful thing about getting organized is that it builds momentum and it's kind of like this snowball effect. And you are like, you see other things in your life changing and you feel your mind like opening up and you like we talked about the cortisol levels are starting to lower so there's like less panic and less anxiety and less overwhelm and so then you'll find, oh, I just want to do the next room. Oh, now I want to do this. And like you were saying, now I want to color code my phone. Probably
Yeah.
because you were just like feeling like the momentum and the energy shift and then on a like deeper spiritual level, I know for me, whenever I get into these whims, I don't know, I just feel like there's more space to connect with God in a way, and more
Mm.
space to be able
Yeah.
to sit down and breathe him in and breathe him out and like listen to him when this clutter is not telling me all these
Mhm.
messages.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite, like, organizing tool or container or, like, specific, like, you're like,
Oh
usually tell people, like, "Hey, you need to get this." I'm just curious.
my gosh, well, it would depend on the room.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with closets
Okay,
and
that's what I want actually, closet's, like, the one I would like some work on, so what would you say for a closet?
well, Amazon has, well, I am an affiliate, but you can go
Oh,
to my website. I
okay,
have a lot
great.
of like tools. And if you buy my book, I have a closet guide that's free
Ooh,
that comes with the
okay,
book.
perfect.
So, with a lot of like specific recommendations. But for listeners that are listening, for your closet, oh, yes, my biggest thing, and it's going to sound so silly and like frivolous, I guess is the word. It's definitely not frugal, it's definitely frivolous, is to get all matching hangers.
I did that.
So,
Yes.
yes,
I got, like, the
it makes,
velvet teal ones, they're so
yes,
cute.
yes. And nowadays, there's so many options. You can pick any color of the velvet ones, or there's really beautiful wood ones
Yes.
at the Container Store, and they're even like slimline ones now that are beautiful. So if you want a more natural, like wooden look, like that's there. I even have a guy client, he loves the plastic ones that you would like buy when you go
Yeah,
shopping at like a clothing store, but they're all these,
that's
so it
interesting.
just, yeah, so it's just like, and I love it because it can be so uniquely you. Even your hanger, like your hanger can be so uniquely you
Yeah,
and like your space. But you probably know from your own closet that it just makes everything just
it
look
looks so
so
much
much
better.
neater and streamlined and like So that's one. But since you already know that one, maybe I can think of another
Wait,
one.
I have a question. Like, I need some
Yes.
help with shoes. Like, I mean, I have some of the little rack things, but they're falling apart. Like, do you have,
Mm,
and I've seen the shoe boxes. Like, what's the best thing
okay.
for shoes? Guess it
Oh
depends on the
gosh.
space, right?
It does depend on the space and your budget because I know those
Mm-hmm.
shoe boxes can be, they can add
Yeah.
up real quick if you have a
Yeah.
lot of shoes. The only thing I would say about shoes is just have a zone for them. Like, don't have
Right.
them all over your closet.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
have them in one space. Yeah, it really depends on the space. I mean, I've done it anywhere from where like the client had a ton of shoes and didn't want them on the floor because like I don't know why it just didn't work.
Yeah.
So we hung three new shelves up high and just like had all of her shoes displayed.
Yeah.
So that's a solution that maybe is a actually that can be less costly than buying all those individual
Yes. I
boxes.
think so.
But
Yeah.
I would say my biggest tip is if you're limited on space is to do one facing one direction and one facing the other direction. I know that's
Okay.
not, so they're like, I don't know
Yeah.
if you're watching
A
it, you can
bit
see my
better. Yeah.
hands,
Huh?
but that saves space too. So yeah. So I've
Interesting.
done anything from adding shelves to the shoe racks
Yeah.
to I personally do not like the hanging shoe things.
Mm-mm.
I
No.
feel like I'm always decluttering them for my clients. I don't use
They
them. I
don't.
feel like
Yeah.
your shoes get lost and then they get like wonky and like I don't
Yeah.
like them.
No, my daughter still has one in her room. It's all the shoes she doesn't wear.
Exactly,
What's the point of
exactly.
this?
It becomes a store clutter
Yes.
instead of helping us like maintain it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and
this
I
has
do like
been,
the boxes too, but
I
they if you're on a
know.
budget, they're not the best answer.
Yeah.
And if they are in your budget on Amazon, they're probably not like good quality and you're not gonna.
Huh. Yes. Yeah, Joel tried because I'm like, I want something different for the closet. So he bought some kind of shoebox thing. It did not work. We sent it back. It
Yeah,
was not the right, wasn't what I was envisioning. And it was like only a few. And I was like, this isn't gonna work. So
yeah.
was a nice try. But yeah, well, this has been such great information.
Good,
I
I
know
hope
that
so.
it's
Yay.
completely different than what we normally do, which I feel is going to give so much value to the listeners. I always like to pray for our guests. Would it be okay if I prayed for you?
My goodness, of course. Yes.
Okay. Dear God, I just thank you so much for Melinda. And I just thank you for the gift of technology and connecting us today. And I just pray blessings over her business, that you will bless her abundantly more than all she could ask and imagine, and that she'll continue to find clients. And I just pray that you continue to be with her in her grief from her loss. And I pray blessings over her marriage as well. And I just thank you also for every listener today. I just pray that they will take some tips from this podcast and be able to organize their life and to be able to release some of the things that are weighing them down, and to know that you really are the keeper of our memories and we don't have to hold on to every single little thing. And I just thank you for all that you've done. And I thank you for every listener. I just pray for that you continue to go into the cracks of their hearts and heal their broken hearts in the way that only that you can. And we just thank you for all you've done. Amen. Well,
Amen.
thank you, Melinda. This has been so interesting. Like, I love it.
It's been
I
so fun to be
definitely,
here.
it's always been a struggle. I'm definitely way better than I used to be. And like, I changed. That was another thing I did after Luke died. I changed my whole space. Like, I got a new bed. I got the velvet
Hmm.
hangers. I got a new bedspread. Like,
Hmm.
and I know a lot of listeners are like that too. Sometimes we just need to change something in our
Yeah.
space. For me, I moved also 10 months after he died, 11 months. And that was good for me. Some people stay in the same space, but for me, it was kind of like having a fresh start
Yeah.
was helpful for me. But, anyways, I've really, really enjoyed this. Thank you for being
Gosh,
a
me too.
guest
And I
today.
would just say if your listeners have any questions for me,
Yes. Where can they find you?
they can find me on Instagram or my website. It's melindagrace.com and Instagram
Okay.
is Melinda Grace Organizing. And I'm happy to answer their questions.
Awesome. And what
Yeah.
about your
And
book?
same for you. Yeah,
Where do
so
you?
my book is called Reclaim Your Space with Grace, and
Okay.
it's on. I still have my proof copy. I need to get
Awesome. Yeah,
a
I have
new
some
one.
of those.
But it's out and now, and it's on Amazon under Reclaim Your
Awesome.
Space with Grace. And then in my book, there's a lot of free resources that they
Cool.
can. go and download. Example is at the end of each chapter, I talk about a specific room. Like
Oh,
this one, I
okay.
talk about the kitchen.
Uh-huh.
And then there's a link to go download more resources for that specific
Awesome.
space. So,
That's
yeah.
very
And of course,
helpful.
I always want to be the most helpful I can be. So, if
Yes.
somebody does have a question, I want to know it and be able to research and like send them an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks for having me. It's been such
Yes.
an honor to be with you. You're an amazing woman and like
Thank
you
you.
just have this peace exuding from you. So like I just
Thank you.
appreciate all the hard work you've done and everything you've been through.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Well, we will talk to you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.